Here in the shop tonight, I've got my newly purchased Liberty 1776 series 64T. It's a 64 gun safe, so they claim. We know that's not true. From Tractor Supply. The 1776 series is the Tractor Supply exclusive. Liberty makes this just to be sold from them. This is basically a Colonial 50 from everything I found, all the specs and everything. There's a little bit of difference in the locking mechanism of the bolt. And I'll kind of show you that, what I've discovered. I'm going to dissect this thing and maybe do some changes on the inside and make some upgrades here because I'm just not happy with the way it comes. For what these things cost, they should be a lot better than they are. I'll leave it at that. The Colonial 50 has an extra bolt in the bottom of it down here against pry attacks. This 1776 series does not. I don't think that'll be an issue because I don't see you prying this door open. To be honest, you can see the mechanism there, and I can add. I'm pretty certain it would not be too difficult to add a rod here. Take a plasma cutter and cut out a little piece of angle here, and make that work. And actually add this because the hole is already there. You're only missing a little plastic bushing there, so I could add that. The sheetrock or fire rating of these safes are based on how many layers of 5/8 drywall is in here, and I'll show you here. This is a 75-minute safe, and from what I can see, the only difference in the Liberty Colonial series, which is this mimics, and the Franklin series, which is $1,500 more than this safe, on the fire rating is there's 2 layers of drywall in the walls of this safe, and there's 3 layers of drywall in the in the walls of the Franklin safe. The ceiling, both of them have 4. The door, both of them have 3. Door jambs, both of them have 3. So the only difference is there's 1 extra layer of 5/8 drywall in the walls of this safe. They're both the same external dimensions and everything. So that tells me I should be able to put an extra layer of sheetrock in here. And I'm already started taking this thing apart. Got the bottom out. There's only 2 layers of actually only 1 layer of sheetrock in the bottom, and then there's particle board flooring that goes over it. That's how you get to your anchor bolts. I've already pulled one side panel out. It comes out like this right here, and then you have another layer right here of sheetrock behind that. And so we'll go ahead and take all this sheetrock out of here, and I'm probably going to have to be careful because when I take that out, this door being as heavy as it is, this thing's probably going to want to turn over, although it is still anchored on the pallet that it came on there. It's still screwed to that. So I'm just going to take this thing apart, and I want to do some upgrades to it. This door right here, the inside is only double plated halfway up. The lower half of the door is not double plated. So I think what I'm going to do is obviously they got this drywall cut out here because this probably fits a higher series, the Franklin series safe as well, and I think it has a locking mechanism that comes across here. But that's not the weak point of this safe, the locking mechanism. The weak point is it's built out of thin sheet metal. And why would you only put a inner plate halfway up? And you can see they got it tied in here. You can see it goes all the way to the upper half. Why would you not go ahead and put that down? So we're gonna have a plate cut. We'll take this sheetrock here out, take this loose, and weld in a lower piece down here. Then put the sheetrock back in. That'll take care of the door, so you got a double layer of protection on the door. On the inside, I'm trying to figure out how to do this, and I don't want to do any kind of welding on the outside of the cabinet because I don't want to damage the paint. There's no way I can match that paint with anything. So I'm coming up with a plan, kind of what I'm thinking about is putting one layer of drywall back in here, and then putting a second layer of steel over the top of the drywall, make a steel inner liner inside this whole cabinet here, and then put the rest of the drywall, 2 more layers on top of that. So we'll have 3 layers of drywall, just like in the Franklin safe, and we'll have 2 layers of steel, like is in like a $10,000, you know, $10,000 or $15,000 safe. All right, guys. So it's been a couple days, and I've come up with a little bit of a plan here. I went ahead and took all the stuff out of the door. The second layer of sheetrock, your one layer is the actual inside panel, and then you have another layer that covers this plate right here, and then obviously you still have the layer behind it. That's how this safe is made. This is so silly to me that they did not make this plate the full length. I mean, I just can't believe how inexpensive it would have been to do that. This is like 30 bucks worth of metal right here that they saved from right there. And that's a big vulnerability. And if somebody were to cut into this, it would double the time that it took them to cut through the door. So why would you not, for 30 bucks? I mean, this thing was $3,100 and some change with tax and everything out the door. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with this whole deal. You have this gusset right here on this inactive locking bolt, and it presses up against the sheetrock. And if you see, I'm flexing that with my hand. So I'm going to put a sheet of metal in here. I need to pick up some metal for another project anyway. So I'm just going to pick up a whole sheet of metal and cut me a plate here just to make me feel better. And I will weld it in here, tack weld like it did there. Just to offer a little bit of resistance there. All right, guys, so I picked up this 4x8 sheet of 1/8 inch metal that they're extremely proud of these days. And I've got some markings on it for the door over here. Show you. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to cut out a panel right here for the lower half of this door that is not one like it should be. And this is only 12 gauge steel here, which 1/8 inch is 11 gauge, so it's a little bit thicker. And then what I'm probably going to do is, I got it marked out over there, is after I put in my bottom panel here, is make a separate panel, split it in the middle, because of the way it has to go in here. There's this lip, and if I cut one full sheet, there's not really a good way to get it in there with the door being already finished. I would have to cut out either the top or the bottom and try to get it to slide in. So if I cut it in 2 pieces down the center, when I get my lower piece in, weld it to this seam, then I cut the next piece and overlay it and make a 3rd layer over this. So it'll be the outside steel is 12 gauge, and then this here will be 12 gauge, and it'll have an 1/8 inch layer over the top of it. So it'll be 3 layers of steel you have to cut through if you want to go through the door, which is basically 3/8 inch of almost 3/8, 5/16 to 3/8 thickness of steel that you would have to cut through, plus the sheetrock and stuff to get in. So that's what I got in mind with this sheet of metal I got over here. Got a mess in here from all the sheetrock I was messing with. So I'm going to get the grinder fired up here with a cutoff wheel, start cutting this out. This is the lower panel right here, and then this is the 2 uppers. Should be able to split that down the middle there, and then I'll have to cut out around the lock mechanism a little bit, and these should all slip in the door and be able to weld that in there. May have to go in this way with it. And get it to go in the door. Like so. Get me a pry bar to see if I can get it on in there. It's one of the reasons I'm going with 1/8 inch, because I measured, and I think it'll slip in between the crack here in the door. and going in. At least I think so. It don't like much. Got it in, now we got to get it to go back this direction. Alright guys, so it took a little bit of doings, but I got it in there finally. It was hung on this tab right here that holds that sheetrock that's about broke off. But I got it to fit in there so that I can get some tacks across it and everything to hold it in there. It got hot. Alright guys, I've got the door done. So we got the outer plate, the middle plate, the inner plate. So I went ahead and kind of welded. I just kind of run a down seam, light pass. I didn't want to get too much heat in it and warp it up or burn through the outer, you know, get the outer hot enough to melt the paint or nothing on the edges. Just kind of spot welded it here all around. Again, didn't want to burn through the paint no more than I had to. You can see a little spots here, there, and yonder. You know, I can kind of touch that up. That's no big deal. You know, welded to these gussets here on the inside of the door, welded right there. You know, burned through just a touch right there on the paint, but nothing on the outside. As you can see here. So it doesn't have to be welded out, you know, all the way around, fully seam welded, nothing like that, because regardless if it was not even welded, you would still have to cut through, because with these lips here, even if this plate was flopping in here, it won't fit through the door. You could never get it pushed in to get anything out of the safe anyway. So more or less just to hold it in place and whatnot. So you got 3 layers to cut through if somebody were to try that. Alright guys, we're ready to put some sheetrock back in. Apparently I've lost my small caulk gun, so I got this big one and a small tube that don't fit with a socket and extension on it to try to get some of it out and make something work here. Alright guys, I got it somewhat clamped in place there. Some boards on the bottom, clamps on the top, whatever I could come up with. We'll let it dry for several hours there, and then we'll worry about it later. Alright, so I got the clamps and everything off the door. The sheetrock is glued in place. The door is finished. I'm going to leave the locking mechanism and everything out of it because I think it's going to be easier to move that way, because I can slide this whole shaft out right here and be able to take this off the front right here, pull this out like that, and I can remove this off the door, and that'll make it 3 inches narrower to fit through a doorway. Alright guys, so another thing I'm going to do to this door here is, the only thing that keeps these lock bars from pivoting like this right here is the lock mechanism that goes across here, and it's made of pretty thin metal. So if someone were to try to prise this door open, I'm going to show you here these lock bars. See how far that moves side to side? That's from straight, that's going to give you a good, I don't know, probably 5/8 of an inch of prise distance in order to easier to get a pry bar in here. And it also is going to make that a little weaker and make a ramp so that it's easier for it to bend down. So I've cut some little bars here. I cut out the sheetrock that I put right here, drywall, and I'm going to put those bars in here facing this way so that it'll keep this you know, in line and square so that it doesn't move around like that. So I'm only going to do it in a couple places, one place here and one place down here. That should add sufficient rigidity to it. But put that like that right there and weld it, and then that will keep this bar from tilting as far in, because as you see, it'll go all the way now until it hits the sheetrock or drywall. And of course, that's not going to offer much resistance if you're prying, and it's going to start to press this lock bar into the drywall there. So if I put some metal reinforcement bars there, that'll keep these bars, locking bars, true. Alright guys, so I got those 2 bars welded in right there. You know, you could probably put one on the bottom or add some additional ones, but I think that's going to be way better than it was. As you can see, it keeps the bar square, and it should slide along that. Alright guys, so I finally got the panels here back from the fabrication shop. Went and picked them up the other day. I have not had a chance to look at them or check them out or anything. I just unloaded them, and they've been sitting here. So anyway, this outside panel here is for the pressure washer project. It's what I needed to finish my belt guard that I'm in the process of building here for the pressure washer project. That'll be in another video. The rest of these panels here is all for the safe project here. This is all 3/16 steel. Had them bend this, and these are supposed to fit, if my measurements are correctly, inside of here. I'm going to have to probably put a 45 across here so that they all fit everything in there, and I'll be able to get everything tack welded up, and this will make the inside liner of the safe. So hang tight and let me get some stuff set up and figure out what I got going on here, and we'll see what it's going to take to install all this. Alright guys, I need to drill 4 holes in this liner here, plate, whatever you want to call it, for the mounting bolts to be able to bolt the safe to the floor if I choose to do so. This thing is going to be extremely heavy, so I don't know that that's even be necessary, because in my calculations it should weigh 1700 to 1800 pounds, so that may not even be necessary, but I'm going to have that option anyways. And so I've got my marks here where the anchor bolts is at. I need to drill these holes, and I was looking at cutting a 45 on this. I think what I'm going to try to do is cope it instead, and so leave the bottom and the top, which is identical to this, like this, and then on my side panels I will notch out a square notch that'll fit over this. At least in theory I think that'll work. If not, then I'll come back and I'll 45 everything and do it that way. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be able to get the side panels in there by coping it, but we're going to give it a shot because it's a little bit easier. At least I think so. Let me get a drill set up over here. We'll get these holes punched in here, and we'll see if this panel will fit down in there. All right, guys, got the drill set up. Gonna punch these holes in there real quick, and we'll be ready for a test fit. One hole down, ready to go. And that hole has to be big enough for a socket to go down in and get on the bolt head. And you can put your coolant in here, but I don't use this thing frequently, and you know, it can leak out. It's got a valve on it and everything, but if you're going to drill a bunch of holes, that's great, as long as they're vertical. If you use it horizontal, it doesn't work that great. And I just usually keep some mixed up in the bottle there for, you know, when you just need to drill a few holes at a time, like we're doing here. Make sure we keep our balance here. I'll go ahead and punch these out, get it cleaned up, ready to go. We'll see if it'll fit. All right, guys, so there's 3 layers of drywall in there at this point. The idea here is that 3 layers of drywall is going to be in between the 2 layers of the safe. So you got your outer layer, 3 layers of drywall, inner layer, then there will be a 4th layer on the inside of the steel liner that I'm fixing to put in there. So let's see if this fits. And that's what I was afraid of while I was on the 45 of the corners, because I think I'm going to run into trouble getting this to fit in there like that. Yep, gonna be fun. Now I did have this mate with a little bit of slack here. So maybe we can get it in there. And that lip there should go up under the other lip, in theory. So I need to get out of here now. If we push the back down, should be good. The fronts want to come down as well. I don't need the front to come down. The front to stay up. Screwdriver here. some filler there I had. I'll put that back in a minute. Well, it's in there and it's a tight fit, that's for sure. Made a miscut on that sheet there, and so I just added a filler. Now I have to get the top piece worked in there, which is going to be even harder because that piece is probably, I don't know, 50 pounds or so, roughly, just a guess. That's all the way down to flush like it should be. It's fitting up under the lip here nicely. I think that's going to work great if the rest of it fit like that. Alright guys, I've got my piece of plate there, got a piece of flat bar. I'm going to try to hold this up over my head and kind of get it wedged in there. I don't know how well this is going to work. I got a feeling this is going to be pretty hard to do. Alright guys, I've got it up in there a little bit closer. The outside walls on this thing are bowed in slightly, probably from the welding process and whatnot. It actually loosened up once I got it up in there a little further. So we're going to keep going with it and get it all the way up to the top, hopefully. It's close in there, it's close. Alright guys, so I've got this all coped out on the corners, notched around here, notched out for the hinges. Electrical plug should go through there. Hopefully all my measurements are right. I guess we're going to stand this thing up and see if she'll fit in there. Hopefully this will fit with no problems. me. Hopefully I did a good job measuring everything. Oh yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing. For sure. Little tappy tap with a hammer. All right, we might need a bigger hammer. Want to rig up some kind of clamp and pull that in, or a bar to push from the other side to wedge it out, because those walls on the outside are tapered in just a touch. Other than that, she fits well. So I'll have to cope the other side over there and get it in there. Take you guys over here and show you how that's fitting behind that lip there. You see how I got that done there, so that tucks behind there. And I'll come along with a tack here, and I gotta spray some water on it to keep that cool. I could remove this. This is a heat sensitive gasket. When it gets hot, it swells up. So I'll come along and kind of spot weld through here. Got a little bit aggressive on my notch right there. That's not a huge deal though. I mean, this doesn't have to be any kind of airtight or watertight or anything like that. Obviously, it's just a cut shield, and I can put a something up under there and raise this panel up just a little bit to close this gap up, so it can equal my gap out all the way around, and get that to fit just a little bit better, and we can tack her in place. All right guys, she's coming along. I got it kind of tacked in there. It's not fully welded. I had them cut this back sheet a little smaller so that I could get it in the doorway, obviously. I did not account for that when I cut the hole down there. So the hole for the plug, where the plug box is going to go, is off about half a hole. That's not a huge deal. I'll just finish cutting that out. As I say, there's another layer of sheetrock or drywall going in here on top of this to cover all this up, and I'll have to narrow all my shelves and everything down. If I'm repeating myself on some of this video, that's because this video has been taking about 2 months to do all this, just with you know, everything being at fabrication shop, and then me working and everything, and working on this on the side and whatnot. So yeah, I had to pull this sheet here further forward than I did the upper one and the bottom one, because my locking bars has to go in behind this right here, and I had to make sure that my locking bars were going to go, because if I had this too far back, my locking bars wouldn't go in here. So everything's stuck in there. As I say, just got to finish welding it up and cut that hole out down there, and then I will be ready to start trimming my drywall down, my inside layer of drywall, and getting that all back in here. All right guys, I've got everything just about done in here, welded out. I cut my hole down there a little bit. I may have to touch that up. I don't know, it may be fine the way it is. I'll have to look at that electrical box. Getting ready to put my inside layer of drywall back in here. Before I do that, I want to take you guys in the safe with me. We're going to make sure these locking bars lock, and I think I'm going to have to notch this top one up here, because I didn't get this top top here pulled forward quite the way I would like. So we may have to notch a notch in it for this top locking bar here or something like that. But I've got this here where I think they'll lock. I'm going to have to pull on this and try to hold you guys and everything else. That's going to be a good tight fit right there. As you see, there's no slack in that whatsoever. Before, all you had was 2 contact points where the door adjusted at, so that'll be much better. But up here, I believe that I'm going to have to notch this where this top locking bar goes in right here. As you see, which that's not a huge deal either. I'll just put a mark here and a mark here, and then I will notch out just enough here that this will go up inside right there. Shouldn't be a big deal. Really, I could probably take this locking bar here out because with the way that's done right there, that is going to be really solid. I'm going to see if I can get this hood back apart. I may have to cut you guys off here. I don't know. There we go. Alright guys, I'm in the process of putting the inside layer of drywall back in. So I had to cut each one of these down. I had to cut these hinge pockets so that they'll bend back because we moved this wall inward, obviously, and added several layers of drywall in there. Just a little bit off the bottom of this right here. So it won't quite fit. Alright guys, so I've got all my shelves and everything back in there that I can get in there. The 2 holders for the guns that comes with it are not going to fit. I'll show you why in just a second. But I've got everything all back in here. So this has 4 layers of drywall. It came with 2 layers. That's 4 layers of drywall and a layer of 3/16 steel that was not in there. As I say, the racks for the guns I'm not going to be able to use because by adding all this extra in here, I had to narrow all these shelves. Basically I had to cut 3/4 of an inch off of each side of the shelf, and I cut it off each side instead of off one side because the way the shelf was made, it had little notches on the ends. I had to cut 3/4 inch off the rear as well because that wall came forward. So I got these where they'll fit. I may not even use this top shelf anyway. As I say, I'm going to use some, put some paperwork and stuff in here and whatnot. And so I may not use that shelf. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Then again, I might. I don't know how I'm going to organize it. So this side over here, they had the gun racks right here. I'm not going to be able to use because if I cut 3/4 of an inch off of each side of here, that's 3/4 of an inch right there. And the way it's made, as you see, it would fall all to pieces if I try to cut them. So I'm not going to be able to use that. That's not the best setup anyway. I can make some custom holders if I so choose, or I could buy some of those. They make some things, some panels that's like slats and fixtures that you can set up something real nice in there. That would actually be better anyway, because those things there, there's not a whole lot of a really good way to use that and for guns anyway, the way it is. So that's not a huge deal. All right, guys. So I want to take a minute to talk about this safe project. Now that we're finishing up, if you guys have watched to this point, I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts on this project and you know, some of the costs associated with this, and is it worth doing or is it not worth doing? So I was in Tractor Supply and I walked past this safe, and it's like $3 grand, I think, $2,900 and something plus tax. It was almost $3,200. The girl come back there and told me that you know, they had some good financing on stuff like this. I could apply for a card, and the interest was like 4%, and for 3 years. And so that's the reason I went with this safe, is for the financing aspect of it. And I didn't want to spend a safe like this with the inside liner like this, which it would have like some lightweight concrete in it probably instead of drywall. But you're looking at like $9,000 to $10,000 for a safe like this. That would be in the same class as this as far as fire rating and security rating, like a American Security safe or something like that. 9 to 10 grand. That used to $5 grand. You could probably buy one 5 to 6, but after inflation and everything, the way we've had, they're $9,000 to $10,000. Plus you have to wait to get it in. I'm not sure what kind of financing they have on those. But anyway, so that's what I did. I financed this purchase, and so I can pay that out. Like if you figure the interest on 4% on that much money over 3 years, it's like $200. So finance $3 grand for $200 for 3 years, not a bad deal. Pay $100 a month on it, I get paid off a little bit sooner. The metal and everything that I bought, the stuff that had the fab shop do, probably in this around $1,700 out of pocket, what I put into this with the drywall and everything. I bought this sheet of 1/8 inch right here for the door. I think that was like $300. And then the drywall, and then I paid the fab shop, I think like $1,300, something like that, right at it. So yeah, and then the drywall. So I'm in this about $1,700 plus what I financed for it. So it's about $5 grand that I'm in this. Is it worth it? I mean, if you figure 9 to 10 grand, I've saved $4,000 to $5,000 depending on the exact safe you look at to compare it. Got a lot of time involved in this. I hadn't been keeping up with it. I'm just doing this, you know, a couple hours here, then you know, when I have time and my spare time and whatnot. So I guess it's worth it. You know, it's half price. But another thing is, as I say, the financing part, I thought that was a pretty good deal. So anyway, you'll have to make your own decision where you think it's worth it or not, or if you want to go out and spend, you know, $10,000 on a dual wall safe from American Securities or whoever. Fort Knox or whoever you want to look at. There's several of them out there. I've looked at several of them, and it's hard to justify spending $10,000 on a little square box like this. But anyway, I'm in it half this deep. Made a good video for you guys, at least I hope so. All right, guys, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a walkthrough what I'm gonna do, and that way, if I don't get around to filming the rest of this, I'll try to, but if I don't, give you an idea what I'm going to do. I have got a pallet over here that'll fit these hay spears. I built this hay spear here, and when I built them, I made them the width apart so that a standard pallet will fit there. This skid that they're on won't fit because they use 4x4s on the outside instead of 2x4s, so it's a little bit too narrow. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a pallet over there, as I say. I'm going to slide on here. I bought some UHMW strips. I think they're 1/2x4, which UHMW is a self-lubricating plastic kind of stuff. They're like 4 foot long. So I'm going to put a couple of those on the pallet that'll slide on here. And then I will put me a ratchet strap or something around the bottom of this safe, attach it to my tractor here, and I can ratchet that thing off of that skid onto the UHMW that's sitting on top of the pallet here and get it secured on here. And I'll put a piece of drywall here that I got left over up against my hay spear on my tractor here so I can pick it up. All right guys, we're gonna see if I can even move this thing. Pretty sure I'm gonna need a ratchet strap and something to work with here. We'll see. Yeah, that ain't happening. I figured that. All right, let me get some tools. All right guys, I've got some 2-inch ratchet straps on here. We'll see if we have any luck here. Keep it coming. I need to get my UHMW up under it like that. Once it gets up on it ought to slide on pretty good. To run out of ratchet here. I'm making push it now that I got it started up on that. UHMW for the win. All right. Well, got it up on there. All right, guys, I have got this thing in the house by myself. Would not have been possible without those UHMW strips right there. I took my tractor and got it setting up on the door equal with the door frame here. Put the UHMW strips down. Was able to muster up enough strength to get it off the pallet. Had a little bit of trouble getting it through the doorway there. I knew I would. Took a 2x4 and got on each side of it. Probably put some dents and stuff in the door frame, but oh well. Anyway, I got it in here. I may have to get some help to get it on position where I need to go. I've got some casters right there to go up under it, but I'm going to have to get it picked up off the floor to get them up under there. So I'll worry about that another day. All right, guys, so I had these furniture dolly casters here I purchased. These were supposed to be the heavy duty ones, rated at like 3,800 pounds for a set of 4 of them. And well, they didn't fare so well up under the old safe there. As you can see, I got them up under there and started to try to push on it, and yeah, not going to work well. So just going to have to use the old UHMW strips that I purchased. That's why I purchased 2 different things, because you always need a plan B when you're not sure about something. So I wasn't sure how this was going to go getting this thing in the house, being as how it weighs what it does. But I think we're just going to use these UHMW strips, and I'm going to have to get a couple of guys here to help me get this pushed on in the house. I mean, I can inch it along, you know, a little by little, but it's going to take me forever to get it on in here at that rate. I'm going to need a couple of hands so we can get some horsepower behind this thing and push it on in here and kind of guide it through the doorways, quit bumping into everything. Alright guys, so this is a different day. I'm having some success moving this along these UHMW strips here, and didn't have any success with the wheels. If I had some dowel rods or something, would probably work a little bit better, but that wouldn't help me steer it. I need some additional help to push this on these here. I'm able to push it a little bit. You know, if I rock it a little bit, I can get it to sliding a little bit, but it takes quite a bit to move this thing. It's like I say, probably around 1,800 pounds with all the additional steel and additional layers of drywall in there, because we basically doubled the weight of it, because it's got twice the drywall. Everything that had 2 layers, it's got 4 layers with the exception of the door. I couldn't get an additional layer in there. And then we have 3/16 steel completely around the body, with some 1/8 inch in the door additional. So we pretty well doubled the weight of it. Got everything back in here as far as the locking mechanism, this inside panel, all this, and it's ready to go. So I just need to finish getting it in the final spot and clean up the drywall dust and stuff from cutting a hole and whatnot from in here. Had to do that plug in there a little bit different. That's supposed to set on the outside of the inside layer of drywall here, and I actually had to recess it in there because of the way the additional thickness of the steel and stuff being in there, and the way I had to do it in additional layers of drywall. But I think everything's going to work out. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.